Chikatilo's name first appeared in our card index at the time of his arrest. On September 13, 1984, he was detained at the main railway station, or rather the main bus station, and handed over to the district department of the police. Then he was handed to the investigating operational group. From that moment he came into our field of vision and we filled in his card. It's still here today. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards on him. These are all the cards that were filled in on Chikatilo. The first was filled in during 1984. The main ones after examination of the criminal and operational material. The last card was filled in when he was arrested in 1990. It didn't help. Again and again, Chikatilo fell through the holes in the police net. The shock of prison was beginning to fade. His 50th birthday had come and gone. He was already a grandfather. But his horrific obsession was stronger than ever. Unable to cope with normal sexual relations, he found the only release through violence. He was spending more and more time hunting for victims. Yet still, those closest to him suspected nothing. Even wife Fayina, after 25 years of marriage, had no idea what her husband was really doing during all those nights he spent away. She understood perfectly well that he was impotent from her experience of their sex life. Later, as he said himself, he used to come home after committing these crimes with blood on him and with cuts. Of course, his wife, Fayina, saw all of that. But at the time he committed the crimes, he was working in the supply department. And he explained to her that it was because he was loading barbed wire, metal, and wood. And that was supposedly why he cut himself and had blood on him. I used to go there and take off my trousers. I became completely shameless, I don't know why. I used to take off my trousers in the toilets of railway stations the same way that other people shave or comb their hair. They have water and soap there. So I took off my trousers and started washing. Well, it wasn't proper washing, it was just to clean off the dirt that happened to be there. Well, not dirt, but blood that was spilled. I didn't examine it closely, I just washed it off with soap. A policeman who saw me doing this washing at the station and asked me what I was doing, I said, there was dirt on the streets. So what? They used to check documents at the railway station almost every time I was there. As the years passed, the killings were beginning to get more and more grisly. Some of the bodies bore dozens of wounds. Others were decapitated or had the genitals cut off. Like an addict, Chikatilo needed more and more suffering to obtain his perverted sexual satisfaction. When I spoke to Chikatilo, he said that by the end the sex of the victim didn't matter anymore. What was important were his own actions. The power which he exercised when he was manipulating his victims. And this feeling that he experienced didn't depend in any way on the sex of his victim. It is true that in a number of cases, in the final stages, that homosexual and pedophilic victims prevail. Of the 16 murders which Chikatilo committed between the beginning of 1988 and his arrest in 1990, 11 were of boys. One of those victims was 10-year-old Alyosha Khobotov, whom Chikatilo met in 1980 near a cinema in Shakhty.
It was Monday, August 28th. We were redecorating our apartment, and he was helping me in the morning. At lunchtime, he asked me for permission to go to the park. Mom, I'll go to the playground for a while, to play there. Well, I let him go. I said, "Don't be long, Lyosha. Be back soon." He left at about 12 or soon after and didn't come back.
For more than 15 months, Lydia Khobotova waited in vain for news of her son. The police found nothing. More and more desperate, she was ready to try anything.
I learned there was a gypsy fortune teller in the Rostov region who helped people, so I thought I would go to her, come what may. She took his photograph, got out her cards and said, "He is lying between heaven and earth." I said, "In what sense?" "He is dead. He was killed by the hand of a sadistic murderer and died a slow death."
Then, at the end of 1990, Chikatilo came to the quiet country station of Leskhoz. On the morning of November the 6th, he brought a woman called Korostik to the next railway station, Lesostep. The aim was the same as always, to take her to a secluded place and murder her. The local policeman on duty spotted a man coming out of the woods and washing his hands. He demanded his papers but found nothing and let him go. The policeman didn't know that Chikatilo had just killed Svetlana Korostik, his 52nd and last victim. But Chikatilo's luck deserted him a week later when the body was found. Police Chief Fetisov was passing and demanded a list of people who had been recorded at the station. He began to read the list, and there was Chikatilo. And I said, "Listen, we checked him in 1984. When he was detained at that time, I was on holiday, and when I came back and they showed me the case, they said that they detained him and that he'd fitted almost 100%, except for the fact that the blood group didn't match." When the investigators began to go through Chikatilo's movements over the previous years and compared them with the murders, they found to their astonishment that they fitted together perfectly. Then we started to check his work record. I found that he got a job here at this factory in 1984. We looked up the documents to find out where he was at the moment the killings were committed. Did he leave Rostov on a business trip? No. That means he was here. Could he have committed the murder? Yes, he could. So we put a big question mark on this. Later, he found himself a job at a beer factory in 1984, over in the West. When we checked the documents from that day, the day of the killing of Ilario Novo, we found that he was working there then. Also, very strange. He was working there and the boy was killed. And then, when we put all these coincidences together, we came to the conclusion that he was the murderer. On the afternoon of November 20th, a week after Svetlana Korostik's body was found, police tracked Chikatilo to the town of Novocherkassk and arrested him. He came quietly, without protest. Nor did he say anything as they drove him back the 40 kilometers to Rostov. Name, Chikatilo Andrei Romanovich. Year of birth, 1936. Place of birth, Sumskaya region, Aktir district, village Yablokhnoye. What's your education? Higher education? Higher education. The first few minutes already produced an interesting development, a cut on Chikatilo's finger. But this was nothing compared to the surprise that was in store for police when they received the results of their blood and sperm samples. As the tests 6 years before had shown, Chikatilo's blood was Group A. But to the astonishment of police, his sperm was of a different group, AB. He could be